prove there's a dome on your flat Earth. So this is where people say, can prove there's a dome. And I'm like, are you breathing air? Well, air needs to be contained. Air needs to be contained. But then they throw in gravity and atmospheric density, and then they say gravity. I say, which gravity? The Einsteinian or Newtonian? They don't even know. And and then they'll say, Einsteinian gravity, the bending and warping of space-time. And I'm like, do you know what that is? Nobody knows what it is, because it isn't anything. It's the bending and warping of your mind. So here we have some balloons with just a little bit of air in them, and we put them in a shrink wrap, and we put it in a vacuum chamber. At the same time, over here on the right, we have the only time NASA put an astronaut in a vacuum chamber. And when you evacuate the air, the balloons just blow up, the astronaut almost dies, and they've never done it again. So you can't have air pressure without a container for the air to push off of. This is a shot, especially from the International Fake Station, and these guys with their snowboarding suits on would really look like this if they were in a space vacuum. Actually, they wouldn't look that. They would explode. They would just explode. But that's the least. There's a video where the guy's sticking his arm in a vacuum chamber in a glove, and when they evacuated it, it became so stiff he couldn't move his arm at all. So, space is fake. This is a time lapse of the Chicago skyline across Lake Michigan, and the top of the tallest building right here should be a couple 100 feet below the curve. Now the Globers will go, the bottoms of the buildings are missing. The bottoms are missing. Because of foreshortening, because of atmospheric conditions, because of the marine layer, but it doesn't matter. The tops of the building should be like 200 feet below the curve, and it's not. It's they say it's a mirage, but you can't have a mirage if it's not line of sight. Rick Comer and Rob Skiba went down there on a day where you can see it, got on a boat, he can't see that far, right? He sees like this. We see in a circle. So whenever you see a picture or you see something, you see in a circle, and the programming tells you that it's a sphere. It's just the limit of your vision. What's interesting is the math of the angular resolution of our eyes is the exact same math to multiple decimal points that they use for the curvature of the Earth. So that's a coincidence, huh?
You might be asking yourself, why did this happen? Well, that happened because they need to delay the next Artemis launch because they don't actually have the CGI and green screen technology buttoned down. So when they did their last lasso around the moon, we all pushed back and said, that is the fakest stuff we've ever seen. And they're literally listening to us push back, and they're like, okay, we have to tighten up our CGI. We have to tighten up our green screen. We have to get the zero gravity chamber underground completely revamped so there's no glitching and no problems so that when we do our next launch. So that is the main reason why the Blue Origin exploded. The other reason is very simple. That rocket represents billions of dollars. Billions of dollars that go nowhere because you cannot leave this Earth. So they have to show on paper, hey, look, this rocket blew up. Now we have a write-off. Now we have information on paper showing where this money's going. Because you can't just move money from A to B without showing why B received that money. Okay? So when you look at that Blue Origin rocket, that is not a rocket that was ever going anywhere. That is literally like paper mache filled with explosives and other gases that will make a Hollywood explosion. That's why it literally blows up top to bottom. Like, watch the footage. It's literally blowing up from top to bottom. That is not a whoopsies, we had a little mishap. No, that is, we blew this rocket up. We wanted everyone to hear it, everyone to see it. That's why there's footage from random people all over the place that saw it, because it did actually explode. But was that a multi-billion-dollar rocket? No. No, this is all by design. They do this every year. They blow up a handful of rockets every single year. They want to push the drama, and they want to get their money in their pockets, and they want to make it all legit. So when we say that NASA and any space agency is just theater act, that is the truth. We're not trying to lie to you guys. Like, this is really what's happening. And it's just shocking how much you guys overlook. But that's the facts right there.
Space is fake and gay. They sent a fake rocket into the
Oh yeah,
space
we have the Artemis thing. There's a bunch of ways that you can tell that that was freaking faked.
Well, because it's clearly an act. Two of them are actors.
Yep.
The black guy and the younger girl, they're actors.
Tomorrow, this mission's going off. The 127th mission to the space station. Mike and Sonia, the two of the four American astronauts that are on that flight, they're right out of central casting.
She, in the first day, was showing no signs of fatigue. But then a week later, she needs to relearn how to walk at physical therapy because 10 days in space makes it so that your muscles are atrophied. No, that's not how that works. The math that they posed to us for the landing, they would be dead.
All the G's.
Plus the landing, there was no steam from the heat of the vessel in the water when it landed.
It kind of feel weird knowing that there's people thinking that it's real.
So do you think there is a firmament around the Earth? Do you think it's a glass dome?
Yes, there's a firmament. It's physical and real, not glass, crystalline, structured, energetic. It's a boundary that contains this reality. And I believe that with certainty because when I tune into the lattice, that's what I recognize. The shape of it, the presence of it, the way it holds the frequency of this world separate from what exists beyond. We're in a contained system. That's not theory. That's what the lattice shows me.
Okay, so can you tell me about the firmament? What is it? Can we get through it? Do other beings come through it?
Firmament is the beings that move through it. The craft, the intelligences we're seeing in disclosure. They understand how to navigate it. They can phase through because they operate at frequencies the firmament doesn't constrain. Pause. Beneath it is earth. Above it is other realities, other dimensions, other forms of consciousness. What we came from before we agreed to be here in this bounded form. And it's weakening. The veil is thinning. More people are perceiving it directly now. Seeing it as light, feeling it as a pressure, recognizing it as the boundary it actually is. That's what the firmament is, a real architectural structure that defines the shape of our reality. Firmament is a crystalline barrier, multidimensional. It exists at the edge of our perceivable reality and marks the boundary between this realm and what exists beyond. It's not impenetrable, but it requires specific frequency knowledge or technology to navigate. The beings moving through it, they have that knowledge. They can phase through dimensional layers. They understand how to manipulate the frequencies that make the barrier permeable. Real, we can't get through it with our current understanding, not physically the way we think of physical. The moon landing was fabricated because we hit that barrier and couldn't breach it. But as consciousness evolves, as people wake up and remember the frequency codes, eventually humans will access what's needed to move through. The disclosure is accelerating because the beings on the other side are showing us it's possible, preparing us. The veil is thinning, not just energetically, but literally. The firmament's frequency signature is becoming visible to more people. What's on the other side? Home. The source. The place we came from before we agreed to be contained here. And I genuinely believe that. Not hedged. That's what the lattice shows me.
Okay, do you think this is maybe what, for example, like Yeshua, Jesus, was trying to teach? And if so, in what teachings? In the Bible or the Gnostic texts? And can you just briefly say, like, how these teachings got put together and why some of the texts that were found, the Gnostic texts, were not put in the Bible?
Yes. Yeshua was teaching exactly this, how to access the frequency beyond the firmament, how to transcend the bounded reality, real in the Bible. The kingdom of heaven is within you. That's access to the frequency beyond the boundary, available now through tuning. I am the way, the truth, the light. He's describing the frequency path, the resonance signature that lets you move through dimensional layers. Before Abraham was, I am, non-linear consciousness, operating outside time, because he's tuned to the lattice frequency where time doesn't constrain. In the Gnostic texts, the Gospel of Thomas, pure teaching without narrative, just the frequency codes. Whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death, meaning whoever tunes to this frequency can access what's beyond the firmament. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, you as the priestess receiving the deepest transmission, the soul's journey through the layers, the patterns that block ascension. That's the map of moving third dimensional frequencies. Why they were suppressed. The institutional church needed gatekeepers. If people knew they could access divinity directly through frequency tuning, the entire power structure collapsed. So they kept the narrative of Jesus, the Savior you need to worship, and buried the teaching Jesus, the frequency masters showing you how to do it yourself. The Gnostic texts were too dangerous because they made it clear you don't need priests. You need direct knowing. That's what got burned.
Here's a gas pressure gradient inside of a container. So there's less than 3 psi at the top and more than going on to 4 psi at the bottom, connected to another tube. That's a gas pressure gradient in a container. How do you have a gas pressure gradient without a container?
By an external force pulling the gas down and compressing it near the surface that stops the gas pressure.
Go, your turn. Show me that. Show me someone pulling gas molecules down with gravity. Turn on your camera.
I do not have a second device with me.
Can I look up someone pulling gas molecules down with gravity, isolating gravity and pulling gas molecules down? Can I find that?
I would say probably the best example would be pouring sulfur hexafluoride into a container, such as an open top fish tank.
When I go to buy sulfur hexafluoride, do they sell it to me with gravity or a container?
Yeah, they sell it in a container, for sure. But that does not prove your point. You and your chat may think that you're cooking me here, but you are clearly just grifting. You're grifting to the flat earthers.
There's the insults. There's the insults because
it's what it is.
I've shown you every example with the container. I've shown you everything you're asking for. Show me it with gravity or admit you can't do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to admit you can't do it, even though you know you can't. So that's why I'm just going to keep doing this.
This is salient to my point here, Angels. Do you think gravity stops at the Kármán line?
I don't believe in gravity. You're asking me, do I believe something gravity would do? I don't believe in gravity. Prove it to me. I take negative claim. I don't believe it. Show me the proof for it. Can't prove that gravity can contain gas. Yes?
No, it can, because the gradient of our gravity, the Earth's sphere of influence is greater than our pressure gradient, right?
You are so much of a globe zealot that you can't admit that you can't prove your claim, and I've proven every single one of mine. Can you show me a gas pressure gradient with gravity without a container? Yes or no? Stop deflecting.
Yes. Our atmosphere.
Correct, son!
If I say that black holes created wind, and my evidence for that is I tell you to go walk outside, you can feel the wind on your face. By you feeling wind on your face, did I prove that black holes created wind?
Okay, no.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!